Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to the I Love You So Much YouTube channel. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get started with the episode. Okay guys, we have my new best friend on the podcast today.
I'm obsessed with you.
We're having the best time. I told her this before, and I was like, I was looking forward to this recording because I knew I would leave selfishly just feeling so good about
yes.
life.
Anybody that gets into my, my space.
Yes.
You just walk away feeling amazing about yourself.
That's how Dom is too. That's what I'm telling you. You guys are, personality-wise, you're very similar. You guys should really get together.
I can't wait. Yeah. Dom, you hear that?
You will.
Let's connect.
Love each other. Okay, I want to start off with you giving a little bit of a background on yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking in your show, but you were explaining things. I knew I was listening. I'm a fan. I love all this stuff.
Yeah.
I also do love, because if you need a podcast, mine is the opposite of this. If you want like a shorter, like bite-sized podcast with like a lot of depth, like there's still like great things in it. It's incredible, and you get, it's so good. I love it. Go listen, everyone. But give us a little background.
Yeah. I'm Topsie VandenBosch. I am West African, married a hot as fuck Dutch man, Dutch and Italian.
Love that.
He is fine as hell,
How'd
y'all.
you guys meet?
We met in undergrad. Okay. I thought he was a loser, and.
Yeah, okay.
I thought he was all right looking, but literally didn't think much. And then, this is so funny to say. And then we got reconnected. And you know when you look at the Facebook profile and you're like, oh, they don't look the way that they looked in college. And I was like, he is so hot, and I need that. Like, I need that in my life. I love me a fine-ass white boy. And we've been together for like 10 years or something crazy. Been married since 2014. So I am West African, married to him. My background is in mental health. So I come from a family they're just really passionate about people. My dad was a sociologist. My mom is a therapist, mental health therapist as well. So that's where my love for social work and mental health therapy came from. And I went to my undergrad. I got my bachelor's in social work, master's degree from State, go green, go white, master's degree from Michigan State. And after that, I worked in so many different arenas of the helping field. I've worked with teens, juveniles in the juvenile justice system as a substance abuse therapist. I have worked with the older adults, snooze.
Not for you.
Nope, not for me. Love them, but it was horrible for me. Children, I was a therapist for kids. Snooze again.
Oh my God.
I love the kids, but I can't play games, and I need more depth. I need conversation.
A little more developed, if you will.
Yes, I need more developed. I need a more developed person. But and then I owned my own therapy practice. I worked as a hospital. Oh my gosh, I worked in the ER as a social worker. I've lived a million lifetimes as well, and I had my own in-person therapy practice in Michigan. And then during the pandemic, like I'm sure so many of you, I made so many hard changes. I realized that I was getting burnt out. At the time, I was really burnt out because the people that I served in my therapy practice, they were, ambitious women, career-driven women who were entrepreneurs or were who were in their careers, who were struggling with depression and anxiety and PTSD, trauma, those types of things. I did marital therapy, couples therapy. I did so much, but I was getting burnt out because what we're talking about every day is really heavy. And even as a therapist, I have incredible self-care, but it just got to be a lot. And I started noticing that there were people who wanted to come to therapy who did not meet the criteria. So a lot of people don't realize, yes, everyone should be in therapy, but I have to diagnose somebody in order for them to sit in my chair. And so there were some executives that would want to work with me, but they didn't struggle with the textbook depression, the textbook anxiety. They didn't struggle with that stuff. And so what they needed was coaching to get them to the next level in their business, which is not therapy. That's not the point of therapy. Therapy can do that as a byproduct, but when you go to therapy, you're going to therapy to talk about what's been going on and how the symptoms of whatever you're struggling with are impacting you. And so that's where I discovered coaching. And so I Googled mindset coach, And I realized I didn't make up the word. I was so, Kenzie, I was fucking bummed.
Shocking. I was shocked that I didn't invent this myself. Yes.
Literally, I was like, I should get the copyright for this because this is not fair. I was going to be the only one. Yeah, calling the lawyers. I mean, my little feelings was hurt. Y'all, my little feelings was hurt. But anyways, I ended up finding a mentor who was a previous therapist turned coach. And she was doing exactly what I wanted to do. She had we had similar education, similar background, and she was killing it as a coach. And I was just like, I want to know how you did it. And so I hit her up, and that was in 2017. So then in 2020, I had been coaching since 2017. So it had been some years. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to go all in to coaching. And so that's what I do full time is I help women business owners crush the source of the negative thought patterns that are preventing them from being able to make bank in their business. And so they're struggling with, it is what I have to say important. Why aren't people buying? So I work with business owners who have services like coaching, or maybe they are a graphic designer, any type of entrepreneur really, who really feels like, you know what, I don't know whether this is working. I want to give up. I'm not quite sure why my business isn't doing what I hoped it would. How is it supposed to support me when people aren't listening? And just all those mindset issues that really cause for you to feel like you're not enough, and that you're not doing enough, and that you're not worthy of everything that you desire and more. And I am here to be that mirror to show you that you have exactly what you need. And I just equip you with some of the tools that I have in my back pocket from my expertise as a therapist. And I have blended that really well in my coaching because I know how to get you to the next level. So yeah.
I love that. And also, I have a friend who wrote this book called The Emotional Entrepreneur.
Ooh.
Yes.
I need to read.
She's actually a podcaster.
Oh my God.
I'll connect you guys. You guys have a lot in common.
I would love
She's
to.
Great. She's from Okay Sis Pod, if you guys are listening. Or she has her own too as well.
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
But she's awesome. But it's interesting because I keep having these conversations with female entrepreneurs, whether it's on air or if it's just behind the scenes of the emotional, and I already have anxiety. I've already dealt with anxiety and depression in my life. So that on top of being an entrepreneur, it's really difficult. And I want to get into that. I have selfishly a lot of questions. I recently realized I couldn't believe that I have many limiting beliefs. And I was shocked because I am
the horror.
No, I am a 3-wing 2. I am overachiever, supportive. So basically I want to overachieve and I want everyone else, I want to help everyone else overachieve around me.
Oh my God.
I don't understand why people just won't do things. It honestly took a long time for me to realize that my work ethic and also a lot of what I do is actually a gift. It's not just everyone has this. So I was really confused as to why they weren't doing things for a long time. So that created a little bit of a rift, and I became a little more self-aware. Yeah. And I realized that not everyone wants that.
Yes.
But I did recently come to terms with the fact that there are some limiting beliefs, which is crazy.
I want to know.
Well, I want to get into that in a second because I have one question to ask you.
Ask.
So you have your career is insane, so powerful, and you're like you were saying, dealing with really hard things every day. Yeah. And I think about this even with my therapist, how do you take care of and I know you said you were getting burnt out, but
this is good.
How do you take care of yourself and your mental health when your job is something that's really heavy every single day?
This is really, thank you for asking this question. It's a really good question. So when I was a practicing therapist, which I will be again pretty soon, I needed to take a break. What I did at the time, so I'll tell you what I did then to take care of myself, which I'm sure isn't too far off from what your own therapist I'm sure maybe does. And I'll talk about how I do it now. So when I was a therapist, what I had to do was literally the last person who left my office, I would need to just reset. And what that meant is just remembering who I am, remembering what I'm here to do, and also separating my own emotions from theirs. Because I think that was super important for me to be able to continue doing that work for as long. I have been a therapist since 2011. And so it had been 9 years of me practicing, and it does get heavy. And so I needed to create a routine around how to separate my energy from the energy of my clients, because whether we realize it or not, energy does transfer. right?
Yes.
So if I'm talking about something heavy with one client, it can be really difficult to reset in between clients to the next person so that I can serve them really well. So I just made sure that I reset my room, my space, my mind, listening to music that was uplifting. So I wouldn't listen to anything that was questionable. So Drake, as much as I love Drake, I just couldn't do it because there's like this undertone. I can't really explain it.
Yeah, it just makes you feel a certain way that you have to protect.
Yes, you have to protect that. And I'm really big on energy. And so I would have to listen to something with no words, like an instrumental. I would have to listen to affirmations and nothing too intense, but
where would you listen to affirmations? Like,
oh my gosh. So I have some playlists that I listen to now. At the time, I would just go on Spotify.
Okay.
I go on Spotify and find it, but now I have some really good manifestation affirmation playlists to share. One of them is my friend Major. He's incredible. I'm going to shout him out. He has an incredible motivational album he just came out with, and it's literally just affirmations, and it's so like, you are worthy. Who wouldn't want to have that?
Yeah.
In their earphones every day. So I would listen to affirmations. I would listen to positive music. I would call a friend. What I had to do was ground myself. Essentially, because it's really easy to take on the emotions of everyone else and forget about you.
Are you an empath?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very much an empath.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm like, so many things with Dahmer. You guys are really just
oh my gosh. I can't wait to meet her.
Yeah.
I can't wait
to meet her. She needs to hire you, actually. That's what I'm going to tell her after this.
Oh my God. You're the best. You're the best.
There you go.
So yes, I had to really ground myself in the truth. And the truth is that I am here on earth on behalf of God to help the planet.
Yes.
And I need to be whole in order to do it. I truly believe that that's my life's assignment. That's my life's work, is to help people, because a lot of people are stuck. They're struggling. They're not talking about it. They feel shame. And so in order for me to do that work, though, I had to take care of myself. So something else I had to start doing was creating some type of routine. So being able to just ground myself in the truth of that I matter. My feelings matter, my emotions matter, what I'm going through matters, and what my clients are going through matters, but I get to separate the two in order to serve myself because they need for me to be whole. So that's something that I needed to literally tell myself, and I needed to anchor that in using the music. It's all a vibe.
Yes.
Creating the fucking vibe.
Yes, creating the vibe.
Creating the vibe. And then I think also, like when I had interviewed you on my podcast, just like the routine of like listening to other podcasts and just being able to step outside of myself and do things that feel good outside of business. It's really easy to allow what you do to become who you are. And that is just a very small part of who Topsie is. And so I think really forcing myself to read, even though I love reading, it's really easy to give that up as soon as your life gets busy.
Yeah.
It's really easy to let go of all routine, and everything becomes about the bottom line. Everything becomes about everybody else and everything else, and it's not about you anymore. And that's where I think we can get lost.
And the busier I get too, the more important my routine is.
Yes.
If I don't have it, I lose my mind. Last question about this, though. You mentioned boundaries with what you listen to.
Yeah.
So in the couple years that have been as traumatic as, I mean, it just keeps going, 2020 to present day, do you have boundaries with like intake of maybe news?
Yes.
Or, I mean, like there was this term that I heard forever ago, and I still have not been able to remember. Essentially, it's like trauma dumping, but from the news.
Yes.
So how have you been able to like kind of keep boundaries with that, especially as like an empath? It's just so difficult.
It's so difficult. What I do is I just don't. So I learn enough. So I like to see like clips. So I'm really good at, I love like going to, this is a way that I digest the news without it becoming too heavy. I love going to gossip blogs. I love celebrity gossip blogs because they end up...
It's similar to how you run your podcast, too.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, smart. Okay.
You already know. So that's how I kind of keep abreast of what's going on without getting deep. Okay. So that's something that I do. Is honestly, a lot of people talk a lot of shit about pop culture, but I think that that's shitty. I think that pop culture is a part of like what we like. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. So I unapologetically read The Shade Room, or I'm just always on some type of messy ass blog, because I know that I'm going to get some news in there. I'm going to get something funny, something ridiculous, something serious. And so I can kind of regulate my emotions better.
It kind of sandwiches it in a little bit.
It does. And I don't go deep into whatever is going on unless I need to. Because a lot of the things that we are hearing and listening, we really don't need to know them as deep as what we end up hearing it. So you get to kind of censor that for yourself. What is the snippet of what I need to know?
Yeah, I think that's really good. Every single person listening to this podcast, that's always something that I'm like thinking about of at what point is this like not even healthy for the people that you're trying to help. Like, I don't know where that line is.
I know.
Especially if you're like, I don't know. I just think it's a really tricky thing that has changed a lot in the past few years.
It has, because you want to be a citizen of the world and like know what's going on in your community. You don't want to be like, in the air. But at the same time, you're a human being. You're not a human doing.
Yeah.
You're not going to fucking save the world.
Yeah.
Save yourself. Put your own mask on before you go trying to put someone else's.
And that is a very important lesson to learn.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, I guess we can go into my limiting beliefs now that I realized that I had. I was beside myself. As someone who...
So how did you find out that you had limiting beliefs?
Because I caught myself. I was making my... A lot of the time, I'm a big thinker.
Okay.
And I surround myself mainly with big thinkers. I don't like small thinkers. I don't like people who are like talking shit about every single friend that they have or keep complaining and don't have a solution. That's my least favorite thing about a person. Just like those, I don't like that.
No.
Big thinker versus small thinker is like the biggest theme in my life.
I love that.
So I really care about being a big thinker. And I couldn't believe I was making a list of like things that I wanted to do, essentially, of the next year, the goals, whatever, big goal setter. And I caught myself thinking, it was there. I caught it a few different times that week specifically, but I was like, oh, well, I mean, I can do this, but like, I won't do that. Like, that's for them. And I can sell, let's say if I'm not right now, but like, I want to be, let's say I were to do like a live show. Yeah. And I was like, well, I could sell this venue, but not that venue. But like, my friends there could sell that venue, or even... That's a really good Breadwinning Housewife merch. Literally, it's sold out our original thing. What am I saying? Our initial buy very quickly.
That's amazing. And congratulations.
Thank you. It did so well, and it's the launch was literally like 640% the first day or something like that. Like it went huge. Yeah, like that's like my biggest thing right now. And I caught myself still being like, even after seeing the proof in the pudding, being like, well, I don't know if the next one would do that, and just certain things. It's like I have this weird thing where it's like, and I don't view where I'm at as a stroke of luck by any means. Right,
because you've worked.
Yeah, I worked my ass off. And like, even, I don't even know if I think luck, I think it exists, but like, you can get lucky, but also you have to have the like, the stuff that you've done before in order to keep that. So, I don't know. I just noticed myself thinking like, almost like, well, I got here and that's good enough, but like I won't get there. And I'm like, I didn't get this far, I only get this far. Like, what am I thinking?
This is so good.
So I noticed it in like specific settings too. And what was even the most interesting thing to me was I was sitting here thinking, and not in a way that like, at the end of the day, it's not about X numbers on the screen. It's about being able to believe in myself and that. Yeah. But total side note, I was like, I knew my sales for something for merch that I sold, and I remember thinking, well, like that person would do so much more or whatever, and we were just talking business, and then I found out that was nowhere near that, and I'm like, I'm viewing myself so much smaller than I am, and I just need to change that. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't feel like I've really, maybe I have always had that in the back of my head and I was just more aware of it now. I don't know, but that is how I found out
this is really
about
good.
These limiting beliefs. They're not very good. I don't like them.
First of all, I love how matter of fact you say it. They're not good.
Yeah, they're not good at all. And it's crazy because I am the first one out of my friends. Yeah. Like, if a lot of my friends have a little more of like traditional career paths in Texas. Okay. And they'll share an interest, and I'm like, you need to do this. I'll make them a business plan. I'm like, this. Like, I am good at making money out of anything. Like, I can literally monetize anything. Every single thing in my life, I have monetized. The other day, my friends always say this as a joke, and I'm like, literally, like, there was like condoms being sent to me, and or like a condom joke coming through, and I was like, literally can monetize anything. Didn't take the deal, but that's beside the point.
I fucking love that.
I go around to my friends, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you have the least amount of responsibility you'll ever have. Now is the time to make the change. Bet on on yourself.
Yes.
If not, you have a degree to fall back on.
Yeah.
You have things to do, but I like truly believe in them. And I'm like, you can do this. And I see it going so big. And with myself, I see it going big, but only to a certain point.
Ooh.
So I need to get past that.
Ooh, so I want to know, can I ask you a few questions?
Go for it.
Okay, so I would love to know, why do you feel like you compare yourself to other people that you think are doing, I don't want to say better than you, but the people that you think are more capable than you of accomplishing something? Where does that come from?
Like the comparison.
Yeah.
I know exactly one thing in my life, like a relationship that it comes from. And it's not that I'm comparing myself to this person. It's just this person. The conversations are hard for me. Like just it's a relationship in my life. That's one of them.
That's okay.
The second, I think it's just the nature too of like you can see numbers on screens.
For sure.
I think those would be the two. Maybe the two things.
Yeah.
And just naturally, like, a lot of my friends are bigger than me online. And then some of them aren't. Like, and it's not even that, I don't know. It's not that I look at it either in a way that I'm genuinely am happy for them.
Of course.
So maybe it's just, like, the public nature of that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm wondering whether, because I like to get to the source.
Okay.
So when I think about the source of why it is you might struggle with believing, even though you know that it's possible, it sounds like you struggle with believing that certain things are true for you the way that they're true for other people. And I'm wondering whether that comes from this belief, this underlying belief that Kenzie is only capable of doing this and no more than that. And if she does more, that's really good. But you kind of have this, what I can hear from you is that you kind of have this belief that you can only do so much until the other shoe drops.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you wait until it actually does happen to believe that it's possible.
Yes. I think I need, with that, even with like, I'm just giving merch sales because it's the most recent example.
Yeah, this is good.
Like that, I believed it after. And I did know going into it that it would
do well,
sell, but not as well as it did. Another thing too, people always ask, like, that's interesting about me is people always ask, like, did you ever think that your life would become this? And the honest truth is yes. Like, when I started my YouTube channel, I was going to do that, and that was what was going to happen. Like, there was no other option. I maybe don't always give that answer. Yeah. But, like, ultimately, yes, I did. I think my life in general and like the career I didn't see the podcast like so it's better than I could have ever imagined and where I'm at emotionally in every area of my life I'm in the best place I've ever been in so I do think I am so happy in ways I couldn't believe it because it just is even better than I could have imagined. But as far as achieving that 100% I thought that was what was going to happen. Like there was no other option for me, right? So it is interesting with me because I've noticed like I think I can get to a certain point and then I'm at a point where I think like I can't surpass that or something.
You kind of wonder whether is this as good as it gets.
Yes. Yeah.
Is this as good as it gets? I also wonder if I don't know, and maybe there isn't, but I also wonder whether within you somewhere it's like this guilt of who am I? Yeah. It's almost like you feel like you need to be humble. Perhaps like, who am I to think that I can achieve that? Yeah. I already have done so much.
And part of that is being young too and seeing, I know exactly where, because in college or even just in general, like hearing my friends struggle so much financially. I bought a house at 22. Like I was financially independent very young. Wow. You make a lot of money in social media. It's no secret at this point.
At all.
And there is guilt of like, I feel bad. And it's not that I work any less or anything like that, but there is a guilt to, and even the level of success at a young age, there is a level of guilt there. 100%.
Oh, this is 100%. Good. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I think is going to be important for you to ground yourself in. So when you start to have those fears or you start to notice that, I wouldn't be able to do that. That person could do that. Or when you notice that you're starting to limit the abundance that God wants to bless you with, that's when you go back to that root belief, which is I have worked hard for everything that I have, and I haven't even seen the cusp of what God has for me in my life. Because I think that the sooner you own that, the less you're going to doubt what's possible for you.
it's interesting too, because I can find myself, and this is probably normal, so I'm just like voicing it. I find myself on some days truly believing this, like, beyond the sky's the limit. I can do anything.
Yeah, of course.
And then on other days,
this is normal.
Okay.
Yeah, this
I'm
is so
I don't know
normal.
why I go so back and forth.
I think it just, because you're not a robot.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Right?
Yeah,
you're not a
fair.
robot. That's why some days you might feel like doing your routine, and some days you might not want to do it, even though you know that it's good for you, because you were not ever supposed to be a robot doing things on autopilot just because you know that it's good.
Yes.
So we don't always do the things that we know we need to do simply because we are fully human in every single way. I think that when it comes to the guilt, that's going to be this ongoing journey of you releasing it, releasing the guilt for the success you've experienced, because you deserve every single bit of it.
That's something,
and you're worthy.
Yeah, and that is something that I never really thought about, that connection, but that makes a lot of sense. And in ways, it's like, I also feel another part of the guilt is that, like, I do feel guilty because I did just start doing something that I love to do, having no idea how much money was in it. I had no idea. I knew that I would succeed and I knew it was going to work, but I had a lot of guilt. Because it's like, I had no idea that this was going to turn, like, I knew, when I say, like, I knew it was going to turn into, like, something as far as a platform.
For sure.
And all that. I had no idea the, like, financial freedom that I would have.
This is so.
And then also, like, I'm starting a brand and I'm able to fund that. Like, things like that. And that's another part of it. Like, there's a lot of layers.
There's layers to it. It's almost that imposter syndrome in a way. It's like snuck in there. It's almost like, it sounds, what I'm hearing from you is that it sounds like you feel guilty at times, even though you know you worked for it, you didn't really realize what you were working towards.
Yes.
You just knew that you wanted this dream or this endeavor to work out, and it was going to. But I think what I'm hearing is that the money wasn't what you were doing it for. You were doing it because you loved it, right? And the financial success came after.
And I think, too, it's a lot of 2020 happening and seeing, and I'm not even talking about, like, what am I trying to say? Like, inequality as far as payment on top. That's a basis, right? So it's like, you think of, like, oh, like, white woman makes more, like,
I see.
That is one of it, like, part of it. But that was always a thing. Like,
of course.
That's not new.
Right.
Unfortunately. So it's like, that is a big part of everything. And then on top of that, the pandemic, with people not having jobs, not making money.
For sure.
It's interesting. I remember, like, when I moved out early and I started doing this young, and everyone was like, what are you going to do after college? Like, you have to go to college. And I did go to college. I had a degree. But they were like, what are you going to do after college? Like, you're going to have to, like, build a career of some sort. And then after college, I was the only one of my friends with a job because no one could get hired. And granted, like, we grew up in a great town. They all could live at home. No one was, like, it was not worst case scenario at all. But there was a lot of people that it was. And so then it's like, okay, people can make a salary in an Instagram photo, and that is hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I definitely can understand what you mean, where it's kind of complex. So I think that, so this is what I teach my clients, and this is what I tell my audience, is that it's not about never having any limiting beliefs, because I believe that we are human. We are always evolving. Certain shit is going to pop up that we're not expecting. It's more about how you deal with it when it shows up.
So you think I should sit there and I get to the root?
Yeah,
which is guilt.
You address it when it happens.
Okay.
So when you have a moment.
So when I have a moment, I need to say, like, I am worthy. I worked hard.
Or just really go back to your story and go back to what's actually the truth and not what you're making up to be the truth in the moment.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So separating your feelings from the facts.
Yeah, a mentor told me, and I think you said this too in your podcast, and I really resonated with it because it's something that someone told me years ago and I always think about. I mentioned it in my last recording. Yeah. It's like, your feelings are valid, but they're not always true.
Yeah, big time.
And that's a really big thing. I've learned, I grew up in a very emotionally reactive family. Okay. So one of the first things I worked on when I moved out was not being emotionally reactive. And now I'm quite literally the least emotionally reactive person. I thought about that this week. There was, like, World War III around me. Yeah. And I just didn't, like, everyone is, like, so worked up around me. And whereas normally I will go to bat for my friends day out. Period. But I'm like, I'm not like that anymore. Like, I can handle, and that was a big moment. That's of, like,
huge.
Wow, I've been working on that for years. Normally I would be like, I'm gonna kill this person. Like, I will literally, I'm like, come on, let's go. But I was like, okay, that's maybe not the healthiest. And I don't know, I was always just naturally, that was because I grew up in a house that was emotionally reactive. So that was something, I mean, it took so long, but I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
So you get to take that same energy to deal with some of those limiting beliefs that come up. It's the same notion of I get to observe my thoughts, but I don't need to become my thought.
Okay. I love that.
You are not your thoughts.
Yes.
We have thoughts, but they are not us.
Yes.
They're separate. So the more that we look at them as, okay, this is just a thought, and it doesn't mean anything, and I get to observe it, and I get to just see how I feel in my body. I get to feel how uncomfortable it is, and then I get to dissect it and get to the actual truth and ground yourself in that moment.
Do you think I should, okay, I mean, I know I'm asking, do you think I should do affirmations? I know I should do affirmations. I know you think I should, but how, this is the thing. I know I want to do affirmations, but like, how do I start? Yeah. Like, how do I pick them out? Like, I don't know what to do.
So here's what my recommendation always is when it comes to this type of routine. I do think that it can be, we set ourselves up to feel disappointed when we go too hard, too quick. What I would recommend is start just listening to like affirmations that are more so, whatever floats your boat, maybe spiritual, maybe entrepreneurial, but there's definitely so many out there. You get to just Google, like put inside of Spotify, affirmations, morning affirmations, and start small. Okay. And then take what you need, leave what you don't. So for instance, my friend Major, I'll send you the link after. Yeah. It's amazing. He has one called You Are Worthy. Yeah, you are worthy. Great. And so I posted like a photo on my Instagram, and I just had that as the music to the photo, because in my stories, because I was like, this is what I really want for you to take away, not just the selfie, but and it gets into your subconscious. Yeah. So I think for you, a lot of the work is also going to be your subconscious work, which is what you're listening to when you are, just lounging around, or if you have any background noise, what kind of background noise is on, because that gets grounded into your subconscious and you start to feel really good. Like, you know what? I am worthy of all that I desire. I am an amazing person who does good things with my money.
It's interesting that you say the like subconscious thing. I had someone say this around me years ago, and basically they were saying like, it doesn't matter, like if you're speaking to someone, like you're speaking to their spirit, so it's gonna be there, and at one point, even if it's not resonating then, it'll resonate one day.
Yes.
And I think that's can be good and bad.
Yes, for sure.
And I have background in and out of church at points, and best and worst thing never happens.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it too, I was in a very vulnerable position. My stepbrother passed away when I was in college, and I was at that point before I still would have been able to kind of just be like, I am my own person. I have my backbone, whatever.
Right.
I was in such a vulnerable position that I think I kept myself so busy for so long, and I couldn't even hear myself. And then I was just like, I kind of fell a little bit more into like, I'll just do whatever makes you happy. Then like, I want to do like what makes
Yeah.
And like a lot of the intentions were good. It's not always this bad thing, but that's been a huge thing I've had to work on. So many of my friends and I are in therapy.
Yeah.
And it's been difficult, but it's interesting because it's so deep rooted.
It really is.
I will say things and I can hear in the back of my head what the counter argument is.
Yes.
And now, after a year, a thing that I'm like so proud of right now is that like I don't hear those voices anymore.
I love that.
But it took so long.
It's so much work.
Oh my God, it's so much work. So I should actually do that in the opposite way.
Yes.
Because it happened then, and I say that because at the time it was things that they didn't really resonate with me, or I didn't really agree with, and not even like rights or controversial things or anything like that. Just like, I don't know if that's how I really view my life in certain ways. Whatever it is, everyone has like differences. Yes. But it was still, even, I felt like I was always like at war almost with like, I don't necessarily agree with that. Can we just,
Yes.
And now I feel like I've kind of like worked through that in a very healthy way.
Yep.
And I just need to do the opposite.
Yes. Now it's just the opposite. And now it's really challenging yourself to just really deal with those voices when it shows up. One of the things that causes for us to spiral is having voices in our head or thoughts that we never address. And that we kind of let the tape run. And
that's exactly it. Yes.
Right. And so it takes more work, and which is why personal development is always work. It takes more work to interrupt it. But the more you interrupt that thought pattern, that flow, and you really challenge those thoughts, challenge those beliefs, it gets grounded in your subconscious that you are not with this bullshit.
Yes. Ironically enough, I also learned, like, it is really hard to unlearn bad leadership.
Oh.
And it's really ironic, but I'm like, that is so much of what I've had to work through. And again, like, bad leadership doesn't mean it's a bad person.
Exactly.
It's not like, oh, I hate you. It's not that. It's like, we also are, I think a lot of us, there are a good amount of people who are doing the best that they can with what they know.
Exactly.
Not everyone, obviously.
Right.
But I do think, like, for the most part, the people that you're with day to day, I like to believe at least.
They're doing the best they can.
Yeah, they're doing the best they can. So it's not necessarily about being like, I hate you. It's like, you know what? Unfortunately, this did really affect me. But there is like a little bit of a difference.
It's hard.
But it's made me I'm a lot more intentional with who I surround myself with.
That.
What kinds of people, or what are maybe signs in people that I should surround myself with, like a green flag?
Oh, what is a green flag?
Yes.
Oh, this is good. I would say somebody who encourages you to go after the thing that sounds fucking crazy, but that will do so much good in this world. I think somebody who is an unapologetic cheerleader for you, even if you're not doing things that they agree with. To me, what really matters is how do they treat you while you're doing the thing that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
You know, because I have friends that make decisions that I don't agree with all the time, and I just love them through it. And I also don't push my own beliefs down their throat. So I think somebody who's, I would say, emotionally mature, you're at the age where it could go either way, depending on where you're at, right?
Don't even get started.
Girl, I already
like, oh my God, specifically boys and dating. God, like, that is my problem. Yeah,
it's almost like it kind of forces you. If you don't want to date older, I can imagine if I was in my 20s, like I wanted to date before I met Nick, I wanted to date a guy that was closer to 30 because I was like, I just don't want to deal with.
I need to date older. That's my issue. I know that's my problem. Yeah, I'm not dating at all right now, but I'm like, because I don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you've exhausted me.
And you're like, yes,
I need a break.
Yes, you need a break, and you need some, like, you just, anyways, so I think some other green flags would be somebody who really encourages you to take care of your health in whatever way you need to. So obviously I think that therapy so it's somebody who just encourages you to be your best self, and also who doesn't get threatened or easily threatened by your success.
That's another thing in my dating life that I've since stopped. I'm no longer practicing these things, but yeah,
because a lot of people they don't know how to handle success, and they feel as if it means something negative about them. And even I would also say I'm talking about my friends that I have right now because they're just so fucking amazing. Whatever opportunities they get, they do their best to see if they can put us on, or if they can connect us.
It's a win for everyone.
It's a win for everyone. So even if it's not possible, they're still going to try. To me, that's a beautiful person.
That's my favorite quality in someone.
Right?
Like,
somebody who just wants to see you win.
Yeah. The second I'm like, oh, you would love this. But like, I love that about people.
I can already pick that up about you.
I just think it's important. Like, and I really do live by, like, there is enough success for everyone.
Oh my God.
I love the, like, bringing people with you. Obviously not everyone can come
Not everyone can come, right.
But like, I do love the whole, like, we all can do this together. You said something too about, like, and I say this all the time, it's like my friends don't always do things I agree with. And I think we've gotten to a part in culture, I want to preface this by saying I'm not talking about human rights, I'm talking about just things in general. Yeah. Where, like, it's so divisive, and you can't have friends that you disagree with.
It's fucking ridiculous.
And it is so unhealthy. And I got to the point, and I fell to that, by the way. Like, I say that because I'm like, you have to think this way, you have to vote this way, like, blah, 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 whatever. And I think there is a point where you draw the line. Obviously, we're not talking in extremes, but I was like, wait a second, I actually hate this about myself. I think this is incredibly unhealthy. I was isolating myself, and I was like, I need to be back at tables. Like, I want to be with people. I want everyone at the table that I'm at to have different perspectives.
There we go.
And different views. That's how you grow. That's how you learn.
Yes.
And I'm also not naive enough to think that I'm, like, the one who's right about everything.
There we go.
So that in itself, like, can you speak to that? Because that is such a horrible thing that has come out of this.
I agree. I think that people have taken, you know, you give them an inch, they take a mile.
Yes.
So it's almost like they take topics that are like not even problem issues, really, like global issues, and they make it a global issue, or it becomes this whole thing like, if you support this, then you don't support me. If you want the jab, then that means that you can't be my friend. Like, I'm sorry, stupid shit like that. And I know that this is going to be controversial, but I don't really give a fuck. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, love people. What the fuck happened to that?
Yeah.
Love on people. They're not going to do what you think that they're supposed to do because they're not robots. You can't control people. And sometimes where I think that comes from, oof, I just got in, because I mean, it's a big problem. People are becoming closed off to hearing another person's perspective or to hear another way of life, and they think that it's threatening theirs. That's the misconception.
Yeah.
Is that whatever your choices are, they're impacting me, and that means that you're toxic. Mm-hmm. And I think that belief is fucking toxic.
Yeah.
Because no one's perfect, and no one can live up to your idea of perfection. That's for you to do if that's what you want to do. But as for me, I'm going to love people unconditionally, no matter what they believe.
What are your views on cancel culture?
I think it's toxic.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why this is really interesting. Summer of 2020 was a fucking wild time. And I think for me, what I was really careful about, which has paid off, honestly, in dividends, is not canceling anybody. It was just about awareness, and it was just about calling people in. Yeah. It wasn't about telling them that they're shitty people or that they don't deserve what they have, because they absolutely deserve what they have. They've worked hard. And I think that cancel culture has become really the opposite of redemption. And it's almost like they believe that people can't change. And it's honestly really baffling to me. I could have been canceled for so many different things shit that I probably still do say, but I'm redeemable. Yeah. I'm a human being, and I'm allowed to change, and I'm allowed to evolve. And I think that people have gotten so robotic with their beliefs and with what they believe other people should, and it has really caused for people to lose friendships. And honestly, I'll just say for business owners, it's really caused a lot of business owners to fuck themselves out of important opportunities.
How so?
Business dealings. Like, if you don't want to deal with somebody, if you don't want to, you know, because of whatever their beliefs are that you don't agree with, and which is fine, that's all right. But at the same time, I still think that tolerance is a beautiful thing. And what makes you think that you have it all figured out? And so I think that when we can learn to just be more tolerant of people, and when we can learn to just love them and love them anyway, even if they're your friends, love them anyways, even if they do or say things that you don't agree with. I think that needs to be the golden rule, because what would you want someone to do to you? Mm-hmm. You know, how would you want them to treat you? Would you want them to throw you away?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It has made us, I think it's translated to every area of how we treat people, but it's made people disposable. And I'm like, people aren't just like something you like crumble up and throw into the trash.
Yes.
And also, like, cancellation, obviously this happens on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's typically, for the most part, it's people who have large followings, or you always see like the random videos, things that have gained traction on the internet. Imagine if your worst moment was broadcasted in front of, like, you know, hundreds of millions of people, whatever the audience is. Are you telling me that you've not done anything in your life that could get you, quote, canceled?
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. Empathy and compassion. Yeah. That's what I feel like is missing. People forget that when they go on these, like, strikes and they want someone to get torn down. I'm like, what happened to your compassion for humans? And I think for some of them, it's completely not even in the picture. And that's scary. Yeah. So I think it's important for us as the human race to just tap back in. When you feel the urge to cancel somebody, you guys, I really want for you to turn the mirror to yourself. Mm-hmm. Let's start there before we start with cancellation. Really, I think that, and that's what I teach, is emotional intelligence and mindset. It's understanding that, hey, I get to look at myself before I point the finger at anybody else.
Or if something, I've noticed if something really bothers me or something is like kind of triggering or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, why is it bothering me?
Yeah.
And also another thing, if I see someone post something that I don't agree with, granted, this again isn't like harmful to other people.
No, right.
I just keep scrolling.
You just keep scrolling.
Crazy concept.
Yeah.
And by the way, another thing that's helpful, I think, being on the internet, it makes the world feel a lot more divided than it is.
Yes.
And then being in real life, most people are sane enough. I don't know the people who are canceling other people. I think a lot of them are 14.
Yeah.
But like genuinely, they're on TikTok, you know? But I'm on TikTok. But
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm like, I just would never... I've never hopped on cancel culture. Like, that has always been, even when there were like traces of it when I was in like high school, I remember thinking like, why are we doing that? Like, that is crazy. And also, the whole point is that people don't do that anymore. So shouldn't they learn? And shouldn't they be given an opportunity to learn? And you're taking away that opportunity when you're trying to take away their livelihood, which, by the way, is really fucking toxic and is really weird. Stop that. Yeah, very weird. Very weird. So weird. Okay, that was really good to hear. I just think that, I don't know, I talk about it a lot on the podcast, but like, people are loving cancel culture these days, and I'm like, it's honestly, I feel like it's on its way out though. We swing so far to one side, we go to the other side. We do. We'll be coming back soon. Yes. Hopefully, when we see that, you know. Yes. Okay, I want you to give a few like tangible mindset strategies. Okay. Daily habits, daily routines. Do whatever comes to mind. Oh, this is good. Okay. So this is going to seem real. So I gas myself up every single fucking day, guys. So, I mean, my friends know, the people in my life know I'm extra as fuck, and I think I'm super hot. I love it. But you have to do that for yourself before anyone else does. So I think one of the biggest tips, especially for those of you, if you're a business owner, cool. If you're not, also fine. Is really easy to get into a slump and to not dress yourself the way that you typically would, to feel like putting on your makeup is too much. It's too much, right? It takes too much time. It takes too much energy. It's really easy to watch this slippery slope happen where you just stop taking care of yourself. And then even with the pandemic, it's been really difficult, I think, even for me, to feel that motivation every day. I mean, not so much right now, but at the height of the pandemic, it was like, what the fuck am I getting dressed for? I'm getting dressed to go and sit and fart in my fucking computer chair. You know, like, no one's seeing me. But I think it's about, how do you make yourself feel good? Because I think that we live in a world where people are getting used to seeking validation from complete strangers, or seeking validation from the people around them. And while that alone in and of itself isn't a bad thing, it's not a bad thing to seek validation. I think that it's fine. I do think that it needs to come from within first. Because that's what I have seen is the most successful. Validate yourself before you ask anyone else to validate you, because that is just a cherry on top. Other people validating you, telling you that how smart, how beautiful you are, that just needs to be the sprinkles on the fucking cake. It also means nothing if you don't believe it yourself. There we go. Like, coming from someone who has had a following since I was a teenager, like, people can tell me all these things, and it's so nice of them to leave a comment. Of course. But like, at the end of the day, if I don't think it, side note, another thing I'm working on this year is and this is a byproduct of cancel culture. I know exactly where it comes from, but I feel like I walk on eggshells so much to not offend. And I'm talking like, none of my views, by the way, are offensive. Right. So I'm not talking about anything controversial, but like, we've gotten to the point where it's like, you like this, you're friends with this. I have friends from all different walks of life. I love that. Opposites ends of the spectrum of whatever it is. Yeah. And just getting nonstop. And I'm like, I feel like I've almost like, and I've done this before with my personality, because it's a big personality. Like, I have been walking on eggshells and almost making myself smaller because I'm afraid of, it's not really that I care what people think about me. I just don't want to lose my job too. Like, I don't want to get canceled. Oh, this is so interesting. So this is the big thing. And all of my friends are feeling this right now. We had a conversation a week ago. Like, we're not doing that anymore. Wow. And so that's something I'm really working on. Yes. And I'm like, it made me think of that, because I'm like, why am I doing this to like appease random internet trolls? Yeah. And I'm not like, why am I not thinking, am I making myself proud in this moment? I'm thinking of like, oh my God, it's gonna be fun. Like, for example, I gave this example, and this girl sent this message and was so sweet and it meant really well. But I posted some of my favorite books online. Yeah. When I read, a lot of it is to just zone out. I like romance books. Yeah. Why not? Like, whatever. Also, by the way, you can be a feminist and like a romance book. Right. And also, those are like really successful women who are like badass and have worked their way through like whatever. I get this message from this girl, and sure, I can, listen to this perspective, but like, my point is that everything I do is picked apart. And she's like, hey, saw you read these books. basically you can't be a feminist and like these and like blah 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 and whatever. And I'm like, being a feminist is just equality. People are even, and that was the undertone of the message. She gave me all these books to read. And I shared this in a video, and then someone was like, that wasn't nice. Like, she was clearly and I'm like, that's not the point. That is not even true. You can be both. 2, that's not.
Oh, this
like,
is
what?
good. I have so many fucking thoughts. Can I just say this? This goes into what you said, like the mindset strategies. Create hella boundaries unapologetically. Yes. One of the first things I do, this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I don't receive any hate. And I say a lot of crazy shit. Not crazy, but I say a lot of shit that a lot of people don't have the guts to say because I can say it. And one thing that I do is I set boundaries with my audience. If you say this, you're getting blocked. Mm-hmm. You do this, you're getting blocked. I'm not available for any of that. And I think as far as the cancel culture piece goes, it's really easy to become a shell of who you are.
Yes.
Really easy. I think one of the biggest things is to remember that nobody can take away your job.
Yeah.
Your people are your people. Your people that ride for you, that ride for your content, that love what Kenzie produces. And that's what I want all of you guys, the listeners, to really take in. Set unapologetic boundaries. You want to attract and repel people. You have a brand, Kenzie. You want to repel people. You want to. It seems opposite of what you've been doing. What you've been doing is growing. And you're like, I want to keep this. You will keep it. But what if you got to keep it with an even more niche audience that is ride or die for you? And who knows that there's consequences. You don't get to go in my DMs and make me feel like shit for sharing a book. Literally go fuck yourself and get a life. Mm-hmm. So that is one of my mindset strategies, honestly, that I use every day, is to set boundaries fearlessly and unapologetically. Because I know the reason why my business is where it is because I'm fully myself and I refuse to be a watered down version of whatever the fuck other people want me to be.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's hard.
Yes, and it's something like I was joking to a friend the other day, and I'm like, this morning actually, for whatever reason, and I think it's honestly my Texas roots, like my number one thing I care about is being authentic. Like I can't fake anything. And I was like, God, I need to be less authentic. I was kidding.
Yeah,
to
course.
like get this person to this, and I was like, I need to be like that.
Yeah.
As a joke, I couldn't actually do it.
Right.
But it's interesting because I care so much about that. Like that ultimately is like, if there's pillars or values and you're like, that is my number one. And I'm like, I'm not going to, like, at what cost?
At what cost?
And also, go ahead, do whatever you want. I don't care. There's people like,
People don't have the control that we think they do.
Yes.
We give people way too much control. So that's another mindset strategy, is stop giving people control over your brain, over your thoughts, over your actions. Because number one, they don't give a fuck. They're not losing any sleep. And it's just you that's suffering. And honestly, you're suffering because people need to hear the message that you've been keeping on the inside. So what if you decided to just say, fuck all of that, I'm just going to say it, I'm going to put it out there, and it gets to be amazing. It gets to work. I get to be myself. I get to not negate what I know I was born to do because of fear of what someone else is going to say or do. No one has that kind of power to cancel you. No one.
Yeah, and that's another shift that I've recently had to start making of like, I don't know why I think that they could even do that.
They can't do that. It's the biggest. I've noticed it. A lot of people are afraid of that, but I've never seen that happen. The only time I've seen it happen is when the person themselves were doing things, right, that were harmful.
Yes.
But
and I keep thinking that too. I'm like, no one besides that. And then also like, they just don't have the power anyways.
They don't. They really don't. But I do notice it with the people who have, who have huge platforms, and people like you who have like, the YouTube channel and podcast, and you've been blogging for forever, and vlogging. Like, I just think that you can start to believe that people have more power than what they actually do. When in fact, it's your ride or dies. It's your audience who love you.
And I have that. Like,
you have so that. Cool. You don't got nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much for coming on. I could literally talk to you for 4 more hours.
I could talk to you forever.
Yeah, like I could really keep this going. But luckily you guys can listen to her podcast. Can you share where they can find you, how they can hire you?
Oh my God.
Podcast, all of that.
Oh my gosh. So you can find me on Crush the Mindset Spiral podcast. It's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. I'm a mindset and emotional intelligence coach. So I have programs and things for business owners, programs, services, offers, one-on-one coaching. If you're a business owner and you're desiring to crush the source of the negative thought patterns that you're having. And you can find me on Instagram at Topsie VandenBosch, and also join my email list. My email list is for the business owners who are wanting just mindset strategies and wanting education on some of the common mindset spirals that really affect us in business. Subscribe to my email list. My emails are fucking hilarious. That's where the party is. I am the gift queen.
Really
Please
am.
subscribe. You'll pee yourself. You'll pee yourself.
Okay.
It's just, I'm just ridiculous, but you learn so much.
Okay,
Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I appreciate you.
This is like favorite recording.
Oh my
what
gosh.
a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know by giving it a nice thumbs up and subscribe for more.